Alright lads, so today we are here to showcase the brand new characters over on Brave Souls. And the character starting off this series of showcases is the brand new 1000-year Blood War Sansan. And actually real quick, I just gotta point out the fact that I never knew Sansan was showing leg like this under all that. That's kind of crazy. But Sansan is going to be an ARRANCAR Holo Killer Plus unit, mainly designed to be used in the melee Holo Guild Quest. And that's due to the fact that she does have Guild Quest specific skills, where if she is playing in that mode, she's getting more damage output. Because for example, instead of having Frenzy plus 2, she gets Frenzy plus 3. Her increased melee damage and increased killer effect damage is further increased in that also. With that too, her increased melee damage and also increased killer effect is further increased in Guild Quests. So that game mode, which most likely will be the chunk of this video, is going to be where she gets to shine the most. Having said that though, she's still an overall good character, especially if you are a Sansan fan. I mean, let's be honest, the Tres Bestie in particular don't get that many characters, especially just general good units too. So to have a new 1000-year Blood War Soifon in a design that I really do like for all the Tres Bestia, and also just have her be good in something, I think is actually a good point. With that said though, she definitely does have some problems. One of the things you will notice when you have a look at the character's skill set is that, similar to a lot of other characters lately, because she is a Guild Quest character, she doesn't have any Berserker, so built-in strong attack damage. Now in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal. You'll notice in Guild Quest, she's going to be hitting very hard, and to make up for that lack of Berserker, she does have again the extra melee damage, the extra killer effect, and then also most importantly 60% more damage to enemies that are inflicted with a status element. So in Guild Quest, you're not going to notice much of the lack of Berserker, and probably even outside of Guild Quest you probably won't. But had she been given any built-in Berserker instead of maybe another skill, that honestly would have made it a lot better. With that in mind though, one thing that is worth talking about with Sansan is the fact that she's the first character in the game now to have a team party buff, which it gives every character, regardless of their affiliation or attribute, 20% more damage to any enemy that is inflicted with a status element. That's really good. Of course, that goes for herself. It's going to be really good in co-op or team-based gamers like Limit Breaker and also Guild Quest. And the question right now is, am I ever going to use her on a Guild Quest team outside of melee Holo just for this effect alone? Probably not, but I'd be curious to see if anyone would attempt that. With that said, when it comes to the build, we're going with something very general here. A Sparta Chair at 5-star plus, a classic teacup, and also a fortification pill. In terms of soul traits, it's probably the best thing you can give her. We have Uryu, who's giving 12% recharge and more strong attack damage when at full stamina. Likewise, Stark is given the same buff here, and then also Chad, who's giving recharge and more damage at full stamina. When it comes to bonus abilities, keep it simple: long stride and full stamina if you're manually playing with the character. If you're taking it into Guild Quest or Epic Raids, full stamina and more damage to paralyze or just SB is going to be the play for those particular game modes. Alright then, so first up, jumping into Links or Trials co-op difficulty, let's first use the SA1. Now, her SA1 is going to be a lunge forward. Her SA2 is going to be a distant area in front of her that covers a 960 radius. Honestly, that SA2 comes out super quick, by the way. Like, super quick. It's kind of like a stark difference between the SA1 and 2. Well, the SA1, honestly, is perfectly fine. But there is, like, quite a charge up to the actual animation that kind of makes sense. If you play over, you kind of understand it. And then the SA3, of course, is going to be a standard full screen. What I like about this character and all the other characters in this banner is that, given the fact that the characters, Tres Bestie in particular, don't really do much during 1000-year Blood War, they have a very brief fight with Kyogre and lose very quickly. I do like the fact that all the Tres Bestia appear on the SA3 for all Milarose, Sansan, and also Apache when you play with them. Now, we did go ahead and use the EX attack. The EX attack is an area rounder that provides her with a 2 barrier, which is very strange. It's a 2-hit barrier. Normally, it's 5. It lasts around 30 seconds, but you do get a 50% defense stat boost, which you very rarely ever see, and I'm not sure how good that's going to be. I kind of understand the idea behind it, because again, this is the character you want to use in Guild Quest content, where your 2 normal attack damage characters might be forced to take damage. So the idea is that you're going to give them the barriers, you're going to increase their defense stat, that way they basically have more survivability. In terms of practical use, in terms of just damage output, obviously it doesn't help you, but still, nonetheless, barriers are good, especially when you are up against humans, which in this case, we actually are up against. So let's go and use the SA2, go use the Soul Bomb. Someone actually surprisingly killed. Is that it? Okay, not too bad. I think, honestly, the summon animation is as good as it potentially could have been. Again, given what they were adapting here, Caleb really didn't have much to work with here, but I think they ended up making a pretty cool-looking summon for a character like Sansan. In this case, though, for our first attempt, a 1 minute and 51 second clear time. Unfortunately, for this quest, we do not have killer against anyone. There are no hollow enemies. The strongest actually does have, though, was actually pretty smooth to play with. At no point was I ever scared of taking damage or ever close to losing my full stamina. But maybe to be fair, I'm contradicting myself like I said at the start. Maybe the lack of Berserker is noteworthy here because we aren't going up against any hollow enemies. We're not as constantly inflicting stat augment when we then get our 60% extra damage. I think at best we can maybe get this down to 1 minute and 30, which is in kind of line with a lot of other characters, which is basically the standard. But she definitely isn't going to be clearing in under 1 minute, like other great characters for Bring Ichigo, for example. Attempt number 2, let's see how this does go. So SA1 into the SA3. Decent there. 2. So the big deciding factor will be clear super fast. It really comes down to the bosses when we get a status proc on them. Most of the other mobs are going down in like 1 or 2 attacks. With the boss, it's like 4 strong attacks at most. Potentially 2 strong attacks if we end up inflicting a status on right away. Now, lucky for us, we were able to dodge that enemy there. Using the barrier now just to have that extra protection. That way we don't take any damage, right? With human enemies, you can never be too safe. Let's go here. SA2. Getting SA2, I'm really liking it. It's stuff that we've seen before. Just a 960 in front of her. Unfortunately, damn. We lost a bit of damage here. So this is going to be quite the slow run. Hopefully we can get back up to full stamina somehow. But I do very much like her SA2. Now I guess one thing to know, maybe we actually lost the barrier just from taking damage. But I think the damage defense buff here is actually quite noticeable. We took a lot of hits there, and we still have quite a lot of stamina. So not too bad. Can we go ahead and grab any potential heals? Yes, we can. I don't think this will heal us back up to full stamina, though. But again, we are playing co-op solo. If we were with other players, remember, we would also be buffing their damage output. The EX attack might have a pretty good chance to inflict status there, helping us out. So maybe it's best to save that against a boss. And then going here, let's just use the SA1 into a Soul Bomb, into another Soul Bomb, because why not? We have 2. So definitely not our best run there. We took some damage, but we were able to get back up to full stamina, fortunately. And with that, surprisingly, we were actually faster because we spent less time trying to showcase the character, just trying to run through it. 1 minute and 40, so we're getting faster. Next run should be our sub 130. Third time, it should indeed be the charm. Here we go. Already inflicting a status summon onto a status proc against Momo. You love to see it. Somehow, that room was almost perfect. Wow. We're going to save the EX attack for the next boss. So let's go here, SA2. Does it have an increased status chance? It does seem to have. So again, if you are trying to maximize your clear time here, using the EX attack against one boss like that is going to be the play. And right now we have our protection, our barriers. Let's drag everyone up into the SA3. Surely we get a status proc. Yes, we do. All the hits on Rukia. Unfortunately, no status proc there. That's fine. Let's go here down with the SA1. Looking really good here. Looking really good because this room, we should be able to just Soul Bomb, right? Hopefully this actually hits. It does. Lovely. Okay. Looking good. And then now, we get our final Soul Bomb in this room. Could this even be sub 1 minute? But kind of crazy if it can be. Luckily, dodged that. And then finished up with the SA3. So, that right there, perfect run in all honesty. In terms of practical use of that EX attack, I do like it. Honestly, I do like it. We actually almost got a sub 1 minute. So, that's actually really good. I think more often than not, to be fair, you do want an offensive attack as an EX skill. You know, buffing your damage output other than buffing your defense stat. But I mean, in some cases, it can help out. I also more so just like the fact that Caleb are experimenting a tad bit with different EX skills. So not every attack is the exact same. Would I want to see that EX attack return more often? I don't know. I don't know. But it's different. I like it. And I think it makes sense in the context of Sansan. Because I believe the attack that she does do is a defensive move. Next up, though, let's take it into the Melee Nightmare Hollow Guild quest, where very fortunately for Sansan, she's the perfect attribute. Because she is a technique ARRANCAR, what this does mean is that if you have access to Ilfort, he is now Sansan's best friend. What Ilfort does offer is very similar to other characters like Gremmy on a broader scale to all the Quincy characters. In this case, for having Ilfort on the team, he's given 20% strong attack damage to Sansan, and given her lack of Berserker, this does go a long way. And then also with that, he is giving a 40% damage buff to any enemy that is inflicted with a status element if you are a technique attribute ARRANCAR. Now, Sun offers the same damage bonus, in this case 20% to every character, but I'm pretty sure because this is specifically to a technique attribute ARRANCAR, and not just technique characters, it does stack. And then with that in mind too, if you have the Mugetsu Soul trait, you can also then offer an additional 20% strong attack damage. So Ilfo in this team is a must-have for Sun. Fortunately for us, he's a premium character that has been out for quite some time. So if you are using Sun, I would definitely recommend using Ilfo. And then for the third character, just use a team booster. Once more, we can always go to the good or reliable Hollow Mask Shinji. Good enough character, especially if you do have duplicates into him. If you do not have this character, I guess the Fierce Battle Kaku would also work. Not as good as Shinji, but that's something to keep in mind. But if you do have the 1000 Year Blood War Kensei, he will be a better alternative. I just don't have him, so right now we are using Shinji, right? And with that in mind, we're just going like a full attack strategy. Very, very simple build. Now, when it comes to Sun, this is going to be her best build when it comes to Guild Quest content. And this can be said basically about any other character in terms of how you're building them for Guild Quests. You want to get that extra melee damage or range damage depending on the type of character you are. Of course, you're always going to use the hollow sticker. And then we are also using the 5-star plus ARRANCAR chair. Links, again, are the exact same. And in my case, I'm using that at 2-5, so level 10 SP, level 10 focus, with full stamina, and also now damage to paralyze enemies as bonus abilities. That's the team setup. Let's jump into it and see how it does go. Alrighty, so 40 for Sun, because she actually can inflict status ailments, in this case paralysis, right? It's just very smooth. Anytime an enemy spawns in, we're going to have a strong attack ready and just instantly paralyze them. So I'm really liking paralysis and also freeze when it comes to this guild quest, right? And just guild quest in general. Let's go and use the Soul Bomb, the EX attack too, we might as well. Let Shinji finish up, and then going into the final boss, in this case, Aizen. All our attacks are ready. It's by far, like, the smoothest it can be. I've done a lot of Guild Quest runs, a lot of different Guild Quest characters. Sometimes it's a bit iffy to get a good score. In Sun's case, very straightforward, which you love to see. And I think it's merely due to that increased status of a chance with the paralysis, right? Now, unfortunately, we took some damage here, but it's fine. We don't get punished for taking damage against this boss. We have 40 seconds to spare. We're going to finish it up very, very quickly. Now, from my knowledge, at 1-5, she is capable of getting a 50-second remaining clear time. Really comes down to just how fast you use your strong attacks. For our very first attempt, we got a 47-second clear time, so we can get faster than that. So let's try that once more. But yeah, as I was saying, right, when it comes to paralysis and also freeze, I feel like they just got buffed a lot with this particular GQ. Because normally, that was really good. Wow, who actually inflicted the weakening there? I'm not entirely too sure. I think it was Shinji. Can Shinji inflict weakening? I actually didn't know that. Maybe I did. Either way, that somehow got inflicted. All right, let's go use our Soul Bomb, then EX, then 1. There's a bit of a delay there on the EX into the SA1. 48 there. We'll get a type bit faster. But when it comes to Guild Quest, right, now that the AoE, or the small mobs, not the boss, have a lot more HP, they are a bit awkward, especially when it comes to using your Soul Bomb, right? There's a lot of times with characters, especially at 1-5, when you use your Soul Bomb, if their Soul Bomb don't hit, like, very hard, if they're not 4-ring Ichigo, for example, once you use your Soul Bomb, you just spread all the enemies apart, and you kind of make it a lot more difficult for yourself. And then you actually want to use your Soul Bomb too, because you have weakened defense, right? You benefit from using the Soul Bomb, but at the same time, you're getting punished for it because you're knocking everyone away. For any character with freeze and also paralysis, so characters that come to mind right now, this character and also Bankai Rukia, right? The second you use your Soul Bomb, they're just stuck in place. You don't push them back. You can follow up with one strong attack, even a lunge, for example, and still take out everyone around you, which I think is really good. And with that in mind, I don't think Sunsen would be nearly as good competing with some very good other melee hollow killers. I don't think she'd be nearly as good if it weren't for the fact that she had the paralysis. So it turns out the weakening actually comes from Ilfo. So that's another great thing about Ilfo as a support character. I mean, very rarely is he going to inflict status ailments, but whenever he does, remember, he has a normal status ailment, and Sun has paralysis plus. So even if we do inflict paralysis on the enemy straight away, Ilfo can still inflict weakening. Very rarely, but when he does, we're now doing even more damage. So again, the combination, the duo right now with Sun and Ilfo is very surprising, but also very good. I think Ilfo is doing a lot of carrying here. Obviously, Sunsen's a great character, which we are seeing right now. But I don't think she would be nearly as sought after if it wasn't for that support ability with Ilfo. Because it is just making Sunsen a lot better. SA2, unfortunately, no status poke on Shinji, but we do get it there. And that's where the other Shinji is going to come in clutch there with his normal attacks. Use our EX, Probably, again, best to flash step out of it. And then going into the final boss, SA3. Almost could one-shot there. I think if we actually got a weakening proc, we would be able to one-shot. But let's try and make this a 40-second run. So go in, flash step, SA2 into the 1. Just got to make sure we instantly use our strong attacks whenever we can. There we go. SA2 into the 1 once more. There we go. Lovely. 55 seconds going into the 4th boss. Let's flash them out of the way as to not have that delayed animation. And then can we get the 50? Close enough. 49.4. We're getting there. The difference between that and a 50-second run really just comes down to my flash step into the first boss and making sure I cancel out the animations when I need to. Like I said, if you play with the character, you will notice that upon using your EX skill, you do have a slight cooldown before you can actually use another attack. So you do want to cancel that with the SA, with a flash step into the SA1. And that's how you're going to get just almost 50 seconds. Alrighty, let's try that again. So SA2 into the 1. Lovely. Straight away, let's use the SA3. It would be great if we could get a status proc, you know, on Il4, because that could potentially allow us to one-shot super quick. I guess in that case, I tried something a tad bit different. I'm not sure that worked out. I wanted to use the EX and then also my sub at the same time, because that pretty much deals with all the mobs around us, but not quite 50 seconds just yet. All right, then, so here we go. Let's use our SA2 into the 1. Luckily, just was able to do enough damage against that boss. Okay, looking good. Okay. Shinji's not in the position we kind of want him to be. Yeah, see, it's a bit too slow because we're doing good, but we just need to... Ooh, that's kind of what we wanted to see there on a 51-second remaining when we're on the final boss. I think we actually got the weakening proc there. But I think this is still regarded as a good demonstration of how Sansan does perform. I think at 1-5, 2-5, you're able to get the 50-second remaining. You kind of just got to get lucky with the boss, not bosses, your other character attacking alongside with you, right? So I might take a couple of resets. I don't want to reset too much in this video. Just want to go in, go out, and see what we're looking at when we are using this character. To be fair, though, this is at 2-5, so I do want to remove the focus slot. I do, but then I have to go change the build and stuff like that, and it's a bit long. Having said that, we're going to do it. So again, if you are 1 out of 5, we are currently in a focus meta where you're just better off building focus. So let's actually remove the SP slot instead. So for example, this is something that you likely want to do when you are going with the focus build, or you can just go full focus. This is what we are working with right now, at least. So in total, we have above like 3,000 spiritual pressure, above 2,000 focus. Let's see what we are looking like when we're technically 1 out of 5. Now, my Sobum will still hit a tad bit harder, around 50% more damage. Would it make a difference? I'm not too sure. But let's see how it goes. So again, same strat, right? SA2 into the SA1. Noting a little bit of a damage fall off there, but that's the first boss, so it's expected. Then again, that was actually better than our 2-5 run. The, you know, Shinji actually attacking. Unfortunately, one enemy was left behind there. Going into Ichigo, let's Soul Bomb. There we go. A tad bit slower. But definitely not our best run by any means. I was still fast nonetheless. Like, just goes to show, right? Even at 1-5, you're still getting a pretty fast clear score. But yeah, let's do one more run. And we'll keep this going all the way through. So go forward. SA2. I believe we actually got the status proc there. Again, Ilfort sometimes can actually come in clutch. Pretty good on the second boss. Shinji just right now needs to get a bit close. There we go, like that, for example. Soul Bomb, EX, into the 1. So for the most part, you don't even notice that big of a difference when at 2-5 versus 1-5. Because what we just did now in our second attempt, we were doing at 2 out of 5. So yeah, definitely good potential with this character. Again, I think the best part about her when compared to the other very good melee hollow killers, right? Just to name a few, Sangdu. We have Yuhabak. We have Mugetsu. They're all great characters, but I think the best part about Sansan is that she's the most safe character to use, right? Right now, Yuha and also Mugetsu can only inflict weakening, which isn't even a bad thing. But, you know, with the poison meta too, they can't stop the enemies from attacking you. So being able to constantly inflict that paralysis, giving you like 7+ seconds of just basically free damage, which in the case when we pair it with, you know, Ilfort, right? Ilfort, when the enemy is paralyzed, if we aren't killing fast enough, there's a chance Ilfort inflicts weakening on top of the paralysis plus. then we're doing 50% more damage. We're getting benefits from having Ilfo in the team. And then also, we have the EX skill that can provide barriers and a defense boost to our teammates to keep them alive. She's honestly, overall, a pretty solid character. So yeah, in total, as expected, this new character is a very good character. A great addition to the Melee Hollow Guild Quest, which in all honesty, probably didn't need her. But if you do have it, it definitely makes sure it runs more consistent. Like, at bare minimum, we were getting 47 seconds remaining. Resetting with this character for a high score doesn't even feel that bad too. That's something that's maybe worth mentioning when it comes to Guild Quest characters. Outside of Guild Quest, I think she was honestly perfectly fine, despite, you know, that lack of Berserker and Frenzy plus 3. And I think in general, as someone that is just a fan of Bleach, it's nice to have more representation in terms of ARRANCARs. I mean, ARRANCARs have had their time to shine in the past, right? When we had the Beyond Resurrection characters, for example. But as we now are deep into 1000 Year Blood War, the only good characters we're getting nowadays for like end of month banners are Soripers and Quincy. So you don't really get to see ARRANCARs get really good units nowadays. So that's why I'm a big fan of this banner, because we have 3 new ARRANCARs that are all pretty good. And in this case, if you're a Sun fan, this is probably the best one you're going to get. You know, looking at the past Suns on our screen right now, the left one, the original one, wasn't really that great on release. The Mana Society version of Sun was actually an end of month unit, but was more so a character designed to be used as a link. So if you are a Sun fan and you've been, you know, waiting for your potential favorite character to get a new good character, you're getting that with this Sun. If you aren't a Sun fan and you're already fine with your Guild Quest team, you can go without her. I think she's a good character to have. Definitely not a much need unless you're trying to, you know, compete in S rank. But, you know, all those other good melee hollow killers that exist in the game, if you are lacking them, well then pulling this Sun will make a pretty big difference on your Guild Quest scores. Either way, let me know what you lads think about it in the comments below. And I'll see you lads next time. Take care and peace.